Welcome to the RV Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Maxson, and I'm thrilled to guide you through the journey of launching, growing, and managing a profitable RV rental business.
All right, everybody, welcome to RV Rental Secrets podcast. I am your co-host, Mr. Garr Russell, and on with me is the other co-host, Stacy Maxson. Stacy, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue.
Blue, okay. My favorite color is construction orange. And maybe it's because I did traffic control for almost a decade before I stepped into my entrepreneurial journey. You know, it's so cool. We were like literally just off camera, like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about you might be an entrepreneur. And then Stacy says, well, you kick it off because I can't really think of anything yet. It'll just happen. And then I said my favorite color was construction orange because I did traffic control for 10 years. And then I literally got fired from that job for sharing my faith. And that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. So there you go. We're off to the races.
Yeah, it all ties together.
It does. It's one of my sayings that I love. Life does not happen to you. Life happens for you. Life happened for me in 2007 when I got fired from the job where I gave my heart to Jesus. And they literally saw me go from being a laborer, working for a foreman, coming into work drunk and high, to sober, walking with the Lord, getting promoted to managing over 30, 40 people, to they didn't like that I was sharing my faith, to they fired me. That was quite the journey. Wow.
Yeah, and that's probably
crazy.
one of the best things that's happened to you, right?
Yeah. I mean, outside of meeting my wife, yeah, that's definitely, it was cool how that happened. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about you might be an entrepreneur if, or like I talk about in my real estate story, which you can get a free copy of that, by the way. Stacy, where can people get a free copy of my book?
It's myrealestatestory.com, and I'll put a link in the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah, so you can download a free copy of my book, myrealestatestory.com. From lawnmowers to RVs, my entrepreneurial journey filled with faith, failures, and fun times. And so in my book, I talk about a wantrepreneur. And what is a wantrepreneur? A wantrepreneur is somebody who wants to become an entrepreneur, but they don't for various reasons. Maybe you're scared. Maybe you just don't know, like, what does that look like? How do I become an entrepreneur? All those kind of things. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about identifying, sealing the deal once and for all. After this podcast, you will know 100% in your heart of hearts, oh my gosh, I'm an entrepreneur. I know it now. Now I need to go start a business. How's that sound, Stacy?
Sounds amazing. I've always been kind of the entrepreneur in my family. I've had various business ventures throughout the years, from cake decorating to a subscription box. And then I got into the RV rental business. And it's funny because my husband, he was always very corporate. Like, he had his job for 16 years, was fully committed to that. And then when we got into RV rentals, there was just kind of a change in him, and he kind of decided to come to the other side and become an entrepreneur. And since then, he's become a certified RV tech. He runs his own mobile RV repair business, in addition to doing the rentals. And he has never been happier. He is happy that he has the freedom to do what he wants, when he wants. He can set his own schedule, his hours. He spent more time with our third child than he has with the other ones because he had that time. So it's just been an amazing journey for us.
I love that. You know, one of my weird goals that I have is to cry once a day. Did you know that, Stacey, about me?
No.
Yeah. So one of my goals is to be moved emotionally to the point of tears once a day. And what you just said about spending the time with his third child, that's amazing. Because really, that's, in most people, that's the desire behind, being an entrepreneur, is you want more. You don't want a boss telling you where to be and when to be there. You don't want a boss telling you how much you're going to make and when your raises are. You don't want a boss telling you what events of your kids you can and can't attend and how many weeks a year you get a vacation. Like, you don't want those things. You want to travel and homeschool and be with your kids, like all the different things that is a perk of being an entrepreneur. The entrepreneurial journey, it's that faith over fear. It's that not knowing if there's going to be a paycheck the next week, or not knowing if your business idea is going to work, or not knowing if your customers are going to be happy, or not knowing how to overcome an objection trying to make a sale, or not knowing how to do books and taxes, all the different things that comes with entrepreneurship. That's really what it is. It's the unknown. But we're not here to figure that out today. Today, we're here to figure out, are you, in your heart of hearts, are you an entrepreneur? So let's talk about that. So Stacy, what would you say would be an indicator? Let's say we put together a quiz for people today. It's a couple question quiz. What would you say would be a question that's on that quiz where somebody could answer yes or no? And if they answered yes, that would be one of the indicators that they're an entrepreneur.
I would say, are you a problem solver? I think being an entrepreneur, there's always things that come up and you need to know how to solve those problems, how to prioritize. So I think if you're a good problem solver, it could be an indication that you could be a good entrepreneur.
That's good. I like that. And that doesn't mean that when a problem comes your way, you don't freak out when it first hits you in the face, because that's just how we're designed as humans, where we react to things, right? And then all the adrenaline and the things flow through our chemicals, flow through our brains and our body, and this or that, and we fight or flight, and then we calm down, and then we go from reaction mode to response. We start to think through it. So if once you get past the reaction of something and you start working on the response of how you're going to handle that situation, if that gets you fired up, if you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. I'm over the shock of what just happened. Just like parenting or marriage or anything else, right? You say something, your spouse says something, and you freak out. You're like, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe I said that. Then you get over that. And now you're like, okay, how are we going to get through this? If that fuels you, then you might be an entrepreneur. I like that. Yeah. And I'm reading a book right now on mindset that talks about a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Those are the two different kinds of mindsets that people have. And it's really interesting. Like, you can have one, recognize it, and transition over into a growth mindset. It talks about like successful athletes who made it to like the pinnacle of success just on natural talent. But then when they started facing adversity, they literally fell from the height of their career down to nothing. And it was because they didn't have a growth mindset. Like, talked about all these famous like tennis players and baseball players, this and that. Literally, like, they started to lose and they blamed it on their shoes and on their coach and on the crowd and all these outside factors. And literally they fell from the top. Where somebody with a growth mindset, they're like, oh, I need to, like Michael Jordan was an example of a growth mindset. Like, he literally was kicked off the high school basketball team, but he worked harder than anyone else, and he came and he crushed it, did a phenomenal job. Anyway, I am rambling on there. I don't even know where I went with that. Stacy, ask me a question. What would be an indicator?
Well, I feel like you kind of just answered it. I mean, we're talking about things that people that want to be entrepreneurs, characteristics they might need. And you mentioning growth mindset, I think that's a huge one. I mentioned problem solving. And what's another one that you think someone would need to be an entrepreneur?
So thanks for bringing me back on track. This is why it's good to have a business partner, you guys. Okay, this is another reason how you can succeed as an entrepreneur is you realize what your gifts and talents are, and you find somebody that has the gifts and talents you don't, and you work together. So just a side note there is, are you an idea person? I think that is a huge indicator. And I talk about that in the real estate story of being a entrepreneur, is you are constantly seeing solutions to problems. You have ideas for products and services. Like, you just can't help it. Like, you're literally driving down the road and you think, man, wouldn't it be better if we had this tool in our kitchen drawer for dinner that we made last night? And your spouse is like, what are you talking about? Late for the baseball game, we're trying to get there. You're like, yeah, I know, but last night, if we would have had a tool that like did this thing, then the spaghetti probably would have been better. Like, okay, you're weird. But no, you're not weird. You're an entrepreneur. Like, you're thinking of inventions, ideas, way to streamline stuff. Like, your lawn care company comes and mows your lawn and you're watching them out the window and you're like, man, it would be so much easier if they actually did this. If they did it that way, if instead of starting with that, they would have started with this, and it would have streamlined. And not only that, man, if they simply came to me and just said, hey, your house needs to be power washed, we'd love to do that for you as well. Like, I would totally pay them to do that. Like, they're missing out on making money off of me Those are all ideas that you have that prove that you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's really true. I feel like I come up with a new business idea every day. You just don't have the time and energy to do all of them. So that's where it's good to focus on one thing. But yeah, that's definitely a characteristic of an entrepreneur. I think another thing is wanting to help people. I think if you're going to be in business, you need to be in it for the right reasons. It's not just about making money, but you want to make sure that you are giving something of value to your customers and that you're making a good experience for them.
Yeah. You said two really good things there. First is getting sidetracked. So it's easy as an entrepreneur because all these ideas just flow naturally to get sidetracked. And I think that's where a lot of people don't even step into their entrepreneurial journey because they don't just pick something and go for it. They've got one idea, and then they've got another, and this and that, and then they go into analysis paralysis. And honestly, at the end of the day, in the entrepreneurial journey, like you just have to take massive action and you find out what works, what don't work. If you like the business idea, if you don't, then you just go from there, So that's a really good point there. And I think that's why a lot of people don't step into the entrepreneurial journey. And then the other thing that you said, remind me of the last thing you just said, because
of wanting to help people.
Yeah, wanting to help people. Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs. We have 4 needs of the body. We have 2 needs of the spirit. And the 4 needs of the body are certainty, variety, significance, love, and connection. Those are the 4 needs of the body. Everybody has those needs. But then the needs, and typically, once those needs are met, then we move into the needs of the spirit, which are growth and contribution. And that really is the heart of an entrepreneur. Like we're looking to grow, we're looking to improve, we're reading, we're taking courses, all those kind of things. And then we're looking to contribute. And that's the rewarding part of entrepreneurship is you're looking to serve people and give back. And I know for me, Stacy, the most rewarding part of my job here at Fireside is serving the franchisees and not even necessarily, serving them in business and sharing ideas and this and that, but more like serving them just overall, like well-rounded, just finances, health, spiritually, mentally, like serving them, finding out what's a need in your life, where you're looking to grow, and then encouraging them in that. And that for me is really the most rewarding part of what I do. It's serving the community.
Yeah, definitely. What other traits can you think of?
Other traits of an entrepreneur here. Let me see. I did cheat a little bit. I asked ChatGPT to rattle off some things. It says you might be an entrepreneur if you have driven vision and purpose, you embrace challenges, you value freedom and control, you're an idea person. We've talked about a lot of these. This is a good one. You have a high tolerance for risk. And that's true. In the entrepreneurial journey, you do take on risk. And really, it's interesting, though, because it's a different way of thinking, because even being an employee for a company, you're still taking a risk, because who are you working for as an employee of a company? You're working for an entrepreneur. So you're just not as close to the risk. So the job you're working right now, heck, we see all the time, huge Fortune 500 companies that fold, banks that downsize, market shifts, things with AI now, stuff's going out of business, mortgage company. I mean, you're reading and seeing things all the time. You may have lost a job. I think of one of our franchisees and George in Asheville that he worked for, was it Cisco or something? A huge worldwide company. And they made a little shift, which to them was just a little shift. Well, that eliminated his job. To him, they had tens of thousands of employees. To them, it was just a little shift. There was not much thought behind, is this going to affect someone's life? No, it was just a decision based off a number, based off a spreadsheet, based off, their data. So you going to work in a 9-to-5 job, you're taking risk as well. You just don't know the risk you're taking because you've got your 401k, you've got your insurance, you've got your nice little office. You're just further away from the decision makers that know all the risk that know they might be 30 days away from going out of business, or 6 months, or know that they're making profits look a certain way to stockholders so they can report to the NASDAQ because they're actually getting ready to sell or purchase to try and stay afloat. So you're taking a risk no matter what. It's just as an entrepreneur, you're closer to the risk. I would almost argue you have more control over your risk because you have more data on your numbers. You know your numbers. You know your market, you know your audience, and you're more invested as an entrepreneur. As a W-2 employee, you're not as invested. You're putting in your 8 hours and you're going home. You're not studying the company as a whole, saying, okay, I wonder how we're doing this quarter compared to last quarter. I wonder how things are looking for the year. I wonder how the stock price is doing. No, unfortunately, most times as a W-2 employee, you're safe enough that you go home and then, you watch TV or you do that. Whereas an entrepreneur, you're not doing that. Like I rarely to ever watch TV. I am reading, I am studying, I am learning, I am growing, I'm creating content. I am doing all the things that I need to do to make sure my business survives and thrives. So I disagree with you, Chat GPT. I'm sorry. You don't have a high tolerance for risk. You actually, I'd say it's the opposite because you're much more invested and involved than if you're a W-2 employee. So what do you think, Stacy? Do you disagree with Chat GPT? Like I just talked myself
like you said, being an entrepreneur, you have more control. You have the bigger picture of what's going on and you can see, okay, sales are low. We need to hustle. And so you can work to get those sales, to get your revenue on track because you're looking at all of the data.
Yeah, exactly. And then too, as an entrepreneur, I talk about how you read and you study and you've got mentors and guides and you go to events and this and that. I would argue that as a W-2 employee, you're probably not doing a lot of this. You're probably putting in your time and, you're waiting for the next raise. You're working hard maybe when you're at your job, but you're not honing your skill at your job to go to the next level even necessarily. You kind of fall into a complacency. But when you're an entrepreneur and you have a competitor and you have these goals and dreams, you're actually seeking out mentors and guidance and you're growing and you're seeing, okay, I'm actually very weak and I'm good in operations of my business, but I'm weak in marketing. So what are you doing? You're studying marketing, you're studying sales, you're figuring out your numbers. Like I know, Stacy, you and I, that's a big thing that we've been working on the last several months. Like we're learning our numbers down to the penny of how much does it cost us to generate a lead? How much does it cost us to generate a phone call with that lead? How much does it cost us to convert that lead? What's our ad spend? What's our KPI? We're learning all these things that really we've never really dug into before. But the further you go down the entrepreneurial journey, the more you realize what you don't know. So the more you learn to know. We've been paying a sales and marketing company $10,000 a month the last couple of months to help us understand and learn and do this. And that was a big step of faith for us. That's just what we're paying them, plus our ad spend, plus our appointment setters and our sales reps. We're putting out a lot of money in faith to learn and grow and go deeper and farther and faster.
Yeah, and I think the difference in that is having the passion. Like when I worked a 9 to 5, I wasn't passionate about that job. It was just a paycheck. So I just went into work, did what I had to do, and then went home to live my life. But when you're an entrepreneur, it just is your whole life. You're passionate about it. You want to get your family involved. You want to do well in your business so you can provide for your family. And then doing those events and reading and getting those mentors is all just leveling you up to do those things that you want to do.
Yeah. That's so funny that you say that because just yesterday we were serving at a food drive and we noticed several weeks ago, there's a food truck would deliver all the food on pallets. Then they take all the food off the pallets and the pallets get stacked up. And then someone just comes and grabs them and brings them to the back of the property where we do the food drive and they burn them. And so I was talking to my kids. I'm like, hey, I wonder if we could do something with those pallets. So we're on YouTube looking at pallet projects. And so anyway, we brought our trailer yesterday. We've got 25 pallets in our trailer. We're starting a business with our 3 youngest. We're going to start making things out of pallets and selling them. So my little 9-year-old, he's got his little notepad and he's writing notes. And what we ended up on is we're going to make things for the season. So for fall, we're going to make a pumpkin out of pallet and paint it. Then we're going to make a a Christmas tree, and we're going to make, all the different seasons and holidays. So I put him to bed the other night, and then I walk out, and he, on his Alexa, he's like, hey, Alexa, tell me about all the different holidays. And he's writing them down. And so then yesterday he comes to me and we're looking at these. He's like, all right, Dad, we can make 6 of these different things. We'll sell them for $20 a piece, or we'll sell them all 6 for $100. And so, man, it's just amazing. Like, so you talk about the entrepreneurial journey. What was he doing? He was talking about, he's doing math. He's expanding his mind of thinking of business ideas. And he's talking about thinking about marketing, how to, and bundling a package and creating. That's all because of the entrepreneurial mindset and the entrepreneurial journey. So it's amazing. There's so much that can be done, doing life together as a family in the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we've talked about a bunch of different ways you can realize that you might have the entrepreneur mindset. Once you figure that out, like, what do you feel should be the next steps in the entrepreneur journey? You've recognized that's your calling. Like, now what?
Yeah. So as far as the next step, honestly, it's just pay attention to that voice inside of you, which, I would call it the Holy Spirit. And when you see a need or you see an idea, just like we did with the pallets, right? You see that, get curious. I love how Tony Robbins teaches about like state changes in your mind. Like, you can tell your mind, hey, you're getting ready to come home from work and you feel all stressed out. Oh, and then the kids are going to flock me, this and that. Well, right before you pull in, switch your mind, do a state change and start feeling playful in your mind. So in this scenario, I'm saying start feeling curious. Like, hey, that idea, get curious, get out a pen and a paper, get the wife and kids around, or husband and kids, and start talking about that and see where that leads you. So instead of dismissing those little ideas, those little whispers, those little nudges, get curious and start exploring that and see, could that be a business? And then do a Google search. Is there anybody in our town doing this? Look them up, see who's doing what, see how they're doing. And just really, it's just start walking down that road, and really, like Tony Robbins says, you take massive action. So it's any area in your life, take massive action, make a mistake, come to a dead end, or open a door wide open. And then, one thing will lead to the next. And now, bam, you've figured out, man, this is a business. Or, if you're like, man, I'm so sick of my job, I just need out immediately, Garr, I don't have time to explore this, that. Start looking into opportunities that are out there. Obviously we have a franchise opportunity. Look into franchising. Man, there is so many opportunities around in the franchise world. I mean, franchising is just all across America. There's so many opportunities. There's people that got mobile pet grooming businesses, and you just cut a page. I call it cutting a check for speed. You literally cut a check, they hand you a business in a box and community and mentoring and this and that. There's opportunities all around us, guys. We just have to start looking for it.
Yeah, definitely. And I forget where I've heard it, but making a list of like everything that you are passionate about and what you like to do, and then another list of what you are good at, and then seeing like where they connect and kind of using that as your guide for finding businesses.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you talking about that before. And then you make this list side by side, and then you kind of just start crossing off, which ones don't stand out as much as the rest, and you kind of narrow it down. Yeah, and then your passion, collides with your talents there, and then you go from there and you start researching that. Yeah, but the biggest thing is take action, do something about it. Don't just say, oh, well, yeah, that would be great, someday. No, you actually need to tell your mind. Apparently, I'm quoting Tony Robbins here a lot today. Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. So you have to make these I am statements. So you would say, like, you know what? I am going to start a business someday. You know what? I am going to start looking into leaving my 9-to-5 and having something of my own. And guess what happens when we tell our brains that? Our brain will instantly start to look for information to justify whatever thought we give it. So literally, it could be anything from the negative to the positive. So you could say, man, I'm always going to be an alcoholic. Guess what? Your brain is going to look for all the reasons why you're always going to be an alcoholic. Or you tell your brain, guess what? Or you tell your brain, you know what? I am going to lose 20 pounds. Your brain will start looking for ways for you to lose the 20 pounds. Like literally, your subconscious will get to work while you're sleeping, you can start thinking for those next steps. So make a couple I am statements, write down your passion and purpose, and then take massive action.
Yeah, I think that's a great note to end on. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If you listened to this and really resonated with it, leave us a review. And I'd love to hear, it may not be something in the RV industry, but what are you passionate about and what do you hope to be as an entrepreneur? So thanks for
Yes.
joining us this week. And we hope you got a lot of value out of this episode.
Thank you all.